This episode is sponsored by Furniture Box. Check them out in the description below.
The secret to success is just being consistently, meaningfully better. Came to London looking for any kind of job. The loot was a yellow paper that you went to find a flat or find a job.
So how long were you doing that before you decided to branch out on your own?
I actually quit at the end of month 2, and he watched me open my commission check, and it was 38p in commission.
You set up your own agency. How do you get your first deal?
Day 3, deal.
What sets you apart?
It's very, very difficult to articulate that answer.
Why would they choose a niche company over, let's say, a big dog that does all different sectors?
You know, the best of the best of the best of the best at anything do one thing really well.
So at what point did you think that you wanted to go international?
I picked the US for a few reasons. I got there, no one had a clue who I was. New York is tough.
So talk me through then some of the hardest moments of the business.
I could go deep here. Bailiffs were in and out of the little shoebox.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about recruitment?
If there is an art to what we do, I think that's it.
Welcome to the ground floor. Our guest today is Andrew Deverell-Smith, the founder of Deverell-Smith, which is a property recruitment agency that's now gone international and has been for many years. So, Andrew, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
Well, I was just saying to you before you press roll, I'm a little bit nervous having sat on your side of the mics a few times before, but never on this side. So be gentle.
Yeah, no, we will. Don't worry.
Andrew actually hosts his own podcast. Do you want to tell the people a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's something that somebody else came up with. And,
cool, let's leave it there.
I'll get the plug in now that you're offered. It's called Devcast. It's all about talent, real estate, people's life journeys, just kind of, I don't know, what is it? It's a gateway to what I think younger people can probably look to in terms of one direction in life. Generally, that's the theme, I'd say.
Okay. I remember watching the episode with Finn Chatton when it came out. When was that? Was that 2020, I feel like? It was a while ago. Was it earlier than that?
No.
Later?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember listening to that because I followed Alex for a while. And that was, it was interesting.
You should
really
get him on here. He is
I've tried.
A real player.
Yeah, I've tried. yeah, I've tried. But yeah, for anybody listening then who's not that familiar with Deverell-Smith, do you mind just giving us a bit of background to what you were doing prior to setting the business up?
Not a lot. It's a short answer to that. Very quick story. So went to university in Manchester, didn't work hard enough to get a proper grade of a degree. Had a great time up there. Knew I wanted to be in London. Right? I always knew I wanted to be. Not that I'm a Londoner, but I knew I wanted to be in London. I came to London looking for any kind of job because I hadn't worked hard enough to get a graduate type, career job.
Yeah.
Fell into a sales job, didn't like it. Fell into another sales job, didn't like that.
What kind of sales?
Well, fun, but like to go back further, I'd always had a job from an early age, so it wasn't like I was work shy or anything.
Yeah.
I'd genuinely worked a lot from the age of 14 or whatever it was, and I'd worked in sales all the way through university. Anyway, my first job in London, it was like a boiler roomy type sales environment. No real issue with the environment other than what I was selling. What I was selling was borderline.
Been there. Been there.
It's all flashing back now,
wasn't illegal. It was nothing, but it was just a sort of case of, right, if I ring 1,000 people, 950 will say no, 50 will say maybe, 10 will say yes. You sell them advertising in this book that you're producing, which is their words, stick it together, you send it back to them and they pay you money. I just couldn't get comfortable with it. I was rubbish at it and I left.
I think it's hard to really be invested in that kind of business from the start, I'll be honest with you. If it is just a case of literally phone
anyone.
smashing.
It was a mad thing though, and I tell you what it did do for me was it showed me what, one end of the sales spectrum looks like. And so after that, I fell into my now career recruitment, and boy, oh boy, was it easy compared to what I was doing. It was tough, and such a range of people. It was a trading floor environment, 200, 300 people on that floor from every walk of life.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, I think that's the thing with recruitment. You just get such a variety of backgrounds and personalities. I think it's that kind of industry, isn't it?
And as you said, like it's the range, and like, because I started in that boiler room environment too. And as you say, I think once you've been through that and you've seen that environment, I think it's good for cutting your teeth, I would say, in a sales environment.
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely feel like that made me a salesman. But then everything else is like a parallel opposite.
It was. I don't regret it for a second. I was just deeply unsuccessful at it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Right. So how did you fall into recruitment then?
I saw an advert. This is I'm older than you two. Back in the day, 2001 to there was the Loot in London. The Loot was a yellow paper that you went to find a flat or find a job.
Okay.
And it was
the Google back in the day, essentially.
But better.
Okay, fine. Okay.
No, but you get these at the tube stations and everything. And I saw an advert and it said, "Do you know anything about property?" And I knew a little bit about property because my now wife, then girlfriend, I'd been with for a long time, and her dad was an estate agent. I used to work for him in my uni holidays and what have you. "Do you know anything about sales?" And I'd had all these different sales jobs. And so I thought, "Oh, yes and yes." And it said, "Do you want to make," I won't say the number because it's a bit crass, "but do you want to make X amount of pounds a year?" And I thought, "Oh, I'd love to. So I applied for the job and I got it. And that was that.
That's how they get you. It's the on-target earnings, I feel like, that's the figure. That
you hear those KPIs?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So then you were working for which company?
They don't exist anymore.
Okay.
And it was tiny, 6 people in a room, not joking, a third of the size of this one, which is a really big podcast room for anyone watching and listening.
Yeah, no, it is.
It was tiny, and I just got the job, and I didn't hold back. I just got my head down.
And was that property recruitment you were doing?
Yes,
it was.
Yes, specifically estate agency recruitment.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, how boring do you want me to get? But it was it was you'd have to do 20 deals a month.
Okay. To be eligible for commission.
Not to be eligible commission, but to live, for me to sort of get to where I wanted to be, to pay the rent and to have a weekend and just do that kind of stuff.
Okay. And you were doing that for 6 years, you said?
No, it wasn't that long. The story is that I actually quit on my at the end of month 2.
Okay.
Excuse me. And because I got my first commission check, and the guy that owned this business was a character, let's say that. Okay. And he had an office just right down within eyeshot of where I sat, and he watched me open my commission check, and I opened it, and when you go to payslip, you go to bottom right hand corner, right? That's where you head fast.
Yeah.
And it was 38p in commission, and I'd been totting up my billing. I'd billed in month 1, billed in month 2. Month 2, got my month 1 commission check. So I literally got up, not that I carried a bag or anything. I just walked out, and he chased after me and said, "Oh, no. Anyway, I resigned month 2, and he managed to convince me to stick with him. But he accepted my resignation, and from that day onwards, I was self-employed. So commission.
Oh, really?
No salary.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. How come it was 38p?
Because I don't want to name names, but he was pretty cute, or he came up with all these excuses, and I just I wasn't interested. And
so just one of those ones where he just didn't give you the commission.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically. So I think there was probably a degree of fairness in some of it, but I wasn't there to make 38p a month commission.
Yeah, understandably.
Greedy, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The audacity, really. Well, I mean, being self-employed in recruitment from month 2, that's
true
in the deep end, isn't it? Okay.
Well, it isn't. It's a true story. And, it was the best thing I ever did. In a way.
Yeah.
In a way. One of the best.
So how long were you doing that before you decided to branch out on your own?
I don't know, about 3 years. So my deal, I think we're getting very recruitment heavy, but I don't mind sharing. I'll answer your questions. My deal was I got 30p in the pound, right? So what I build, I get 30p in the pound. And, it was okay. The decision was driven purely by ego, because I was living with my best mate at the time, who was a self-employed mortgage broker. He was earning more money than me. And I thought, well, I want to be like him. And therefore I took the deal, and I just got my head down. There's nothing interesting about it. I just worked harder, than those around me because I had to, because there was no safety blanket. And I did it for 3 years, but bit by bit, I just knew this environment was not what I wanted to be in. Bailiffs were in and out of the little shoebox, and I was dealing with it even though I wasn't employed by this company. The guy I was sort of not working for, but kind of sort of around, was just not for me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so you're not happy and you think you want to, go your own way with it. How does that even come about?
You quit. No,
right.
I mean, in all seriousness, I get asked this question a little bit from people from time to time. It's like, oh, what was the big idea? There wasn't a big idea. The idea was that I'm 26 years old. I'm not employed. I'm tagged to this other entity that I don't really believe in. And what have I got to lose? And if I don't do it now, when are you going to do it? And if I fail, so what?
It's a good mentality to have, and that still rings true today, to be honest with you. I think, if you don't have the commitments that sort of tie you down and
I think that's it. I think, honestly, you've hit the nail on the cord there. I think it's stuff. I'm now 43. I've got 3 kids. I've got, bills and all the rest of it. Could I do it again? I'd like to think so. But, back then it was a small decision or a big decision, I think, really.
And so how long were you going then on your own before you made your first hire?
Well, I tried to hire people all the time and they kept saying no. So it took me. In fact, I tried to convince people to come in with me and they kept saying no. So,
okay. Okay.
So I'm obviously a terrible recruiter. But I know exactly who it was, and if she's watching, I don't, she follows much of what I do, but she was, I don't know, the 10th person. I don't know, but I got a series of no's before I got a yes, and it was great. It was great when I got a yes, and I'd like to think she doesn't regret it either. It was a really exciting time, really, really, really cool time.
And what made you? Oh, go on. Sorry.
Well, no, I was going to say, so you set up your own agency. How do you get your first deal? You've just branched out on your own.
Day 3, deal. And I don't want to sound arrogant. I mean, for anyone who knows the recruitment industry, it's not complicated. It's like find job, find candidate.
Well, for anyone that doesn't know the recruitment industry.
Well, I think most people that go and set up their own companies probably do something aligned to what they were already doing or closely resembling that, right? So it's not that you got to, some people don't, and I'm in all of those people, but it's not that I had to educate myself of what the job was or educate myself what the market was. So it really was a case of, and bear in mind I was self-employed, so I had clients. Yeah. It was really just a continuity exercise rather than I'm a recruitment consultant and now I'm going to go and build a tech company.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So it's very easy.
So you have clients. In terms of getting candidates for those positions, how does that come about?
What in that occasion?
Well, in general, I mean, so let's say Skeeth has a company and he's your client and he does his recruitment through you or whatever. How do you get deals? How do you find people to take those jobs?
I think it depends where you are in the game, right? So I'm now 20 years in, and look, it's the hardest thing about the job, because if that wasn't the challenge, we wouldn't exist, right? If companies could just put the adverts in windows and find the perfect person, they would. 100% they would, and they should. So finding candidates is hard. Now, I think in some ways, the longer you do this, the easier it gets, because you build a network and a brand, and you can ask favors, and you know where to look. And in some ways, it gets harder because you become older and more cynical. And I would hope, in my case, your standards rise and rise and rise and rise and rise in terms of what good really looks like. So that's been a really weird thing. I've been doing this 20 years, and it's still, I find it really fascinating around that pursuit of the perfect candidate for the organization. And if there is an art to what we do, I think that's it.
So what do you think would set Deverell-Smith apart then from the competition over that 20-year period? Because as you said, it's not necessarily complicated to go out and set up your own recruitment agency if you've been in the industry already for X number of months or years. So given the saturation in that market, what has made your business successful when others haven't?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think about it a lot, and I don't think about it a lot at the same time. I don't, as much as I'm really proud of who we are, I don't look at us as super successful. I look at us as something I'm proud of, but can see all kinds of areas for improvement. So, look, we are, by recruitment industry standards, medium to large.
How big are you now? Sort of headcount wise?
About 75 to,
Is that globally?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'll get onto globally. Well, when you ask me, but I've lost my train of thought. The question is, what was the question?
So what sets you apart? What's made your business successful when others haven't?
I think. Look, recruitment is an industry I'm really, really proud to work in. But I also look at it like this. If an alien flies down from outer space and lands on planet Earth and says, right, you're a recruitment consultant, what's the difference? It's very, very difficult to articulate that answer. I think it's in the nuance. I don't think it's in this big statement, we're different, because I think it's in the everyday, every touch experience that, our customers, clients, candidates, call them whatever you want. I think if you can do that consistently, meaningfully better, that's the difference. I could sit here and tell you great stories around what we've done that others haven't, but that goes in a flash. I think the secret to success is just being consistently, meaningfully better.
And a lot of that would stem obviously from the people that you bring on board as well.
Yeah, totally. The people and the environment and culture that you create, and I see that really. If I've done one thing reasonably well, I hope it's instill that care and attention and passion and standards into who we are and what it is that we do. And what it is that we do isn't saving lives, but it can make a difference. And I think recruitment's a really easy job, but it's really easy to get wrong.
That's very true.
It's a good way to put it.
That's very true.
Speaking of that culture, you recently introduced unlimited annual leave, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, we did.
Can you talk a little bit more to that and why you made that decision?
Because we got bored of counting holidays.
Nice.
I just think, it wasn't my decision. Again, it was a collective decision. And look, I always say to people, as the business has grown, fewer and fewer people report into me, but I do run our executive search arm, one function of the business. And you're talking adult to adult, you're having conversations, and they say, "Oh, how many days holiday do I get?" And I always think I sort of know the answer to that question, but my response is, if I'm having to count, or you are, there's a bit more of a problem within that. It's like, I'm not asking you to work your weekends, but from time to time, I'm hoping you'll want to, not because I want you to, it's because you're full of this passion to deliver on behalf of your client. That means, not 10-hour days over the weekend, but so for me, it's just this trust and trade thing. It's like, I'm not counting, and if I have to go and count, there's probably more of a problem than the amount of holidays you've taken. Does that make sense?
No, I completely agree. I've always thought it's crazy. I haven't done the corporate thing for a while, but I always find it crazy when, you even said the other day, about this idea of like, I've only got one or a half day. It's
really,
do the work,
it's really important for me to add, we're not this sort of utopian type of environment where, everything is just easy. And I'm not saying we have these people, if you were just woefully kind of below par, or above par, I'm not a golfer, missing every mark, turning up to work late when you're there, and going and booking, 7 months in Guatemala, of course, of course there's going to be a conversation.
A bit of common sense, yeah.
But it's a trust-based situation, and I think the longer I've done this, you can motivate people for a minute or an hour or a month, but to, for me to try and continually motivate you, I think is a waste of my energy and a waste of your own in a way. It's like, I'm looking for people who want to do this for them.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is create this environment that works for them, because I'd experienced an environment that didn't work for me. So I'm doing all I can just to create this platform that enables people to build their dreams. And
There's go on.
I was going to say, and how have you actually gone about building that over the years?
Slowly is probably the honest answer. I started the company with £1,500, right?
Okay.
So that is what it is. And it was a case of roll your sleeves up and sacrifice, earn a bit, save a bit, spend a bit, earn a bit, save a bit, spend a bit. Over the course of that journey, call it the first 5 years, I made a ton of mistakes. I never run a company before. I didn't know who I wanted us to be, really. But, and the mistakes have continued all the way along. I think what really matters is caring about the environment that you want to create. I've tried to create an environment that I'd want to work in. I go to work, I spend more time at work with people that I work with than my family. So
yeah, we all do. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So for me, it's a selfish exercise of trying to find a balance between, the sacrifices that you have to make when you go to work to, an environment you can't wait to get to and you want to stay within.
Yeah, it's a hard balance to find.
On the topic of actually building the business, I'm curious. Obviously, you've got a niche. You're in property recruitment. What is the kind of, or maybe not in general, but your specific angle of when someone is looking to recruit with a company, why would they choose a niche company over, let's say, a big dog that does all different sectors?
Because the niche company, 99.9 times out of 100, will know more about that niche.
Right. I figured that would be the case, but I wasn't sure, because I'm wondering, why would any big companies even waste their time covering all the different
No,
sectors?
they've got their own rules. That's not to knock these big global super successful companies. I've got respect for all of them. But I think it's like anything. If you want to go to a master craftsman, not suggesting I'm one, but the best of the best of the best of the best at anything do one thing really well.
That's true. Yeah.
So
no, yeah, that's true. So at what point did you think that you wanted to go international?
When Brexit happened.
How did that come about? Okay, fine.
Yeah, I mean, kind of without joking, I thought that's, without getting too political about things, I just thought, here's a long load of headwinds coming our way. I think it was kind of vanity to a degree. I built the business to a reasonable standard over wherever we were then, 12 years, 13 years. So it was a sort of challenge myself moment. We had a great, layer of senior people in the business, and I wanted to, sort of get a bit, give myself a new project to give them space, and also to say to the company, we're here to keep growing and keep evolving, and do new cool stuff.
Yeah. And how did you find the process of actually building that from scratch? Was it as straightforward as you found it in the UK?
No.
How so?
Well, I think this says more about me than what a textbook should tell you as to how to launch an international company. Look, we looked at a couple of regions, well, 3. One was the Middle East, one was the Far East, and one was the US. And different people were pointing us in different directions. I picked the US for a few reasons. 1, time zone. 2, language. And 3, what I saw the opportunity to be. Now, it was really quite interesting and humbling. And then we picked New York, right? And don't ask me why we picked New York, but I would say to you, because it was a tried and tested kind of, flight route and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it's a major city capital, but probably ego driven as well. It's like, who doesn't want to go and open an office?
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I can understand that.
So I got there, no one had a clue who I was at all. No one, it was interesting, like the recruitment industry is far less mature, like that mid-market recruitment industry.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
Okay,
think it's changing, but they were like, you do what? You help me recruit people? What?
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And it turns out we don't quite speak the same language. As much as I got a million American friends and I love, so much about the country, we don't talk the same language. So it was tough. And then New York is tough, I
can imagine.
You've really got to hustle. So no, it's tougher than I was expecting. But it was thrilling. Made a load of mistakes. Would do it differently if I went again. Like expensive. My God.
I know.
Imagine.
I started comedy in New York, and I go there quite regularly. It's insanely expensive. You think London's expensive, mate?
Yeah, I've not been to Manhattan, so yeah,
It's another level. You can't step outside your house without spending $30 or something.
Really?
It's insane.
No. It's. I mean, what a town, but it's so expensive.
No, I can believe it.
Yeah, I struggle with it, to be honest.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about recruitment? Because I think recruitment gets quite bad. It does get quite a bad rap. There's a lot of stigma, I think.
I think it deserves it, if I'm honest.
Interesting. Okay.
I think it deserves it. I think whatever line of our industry you're in, you're generally raising an invoice for certainly 4 figures, 5 figures, and that is a lot of money to most people. And I question the experience the client has, or the understanding the client has in terms of the work you've done, to just ping them an invoice for, call it $8,000, $10,000, whatever, pick your number. And then what's mad, I think, about our industry, and I'm guilty of this, I think we all are, but we're particularly bad at this is, and that's the last you hear of them. It's not a let's stay in touch. How's your life going? How's the dude or dudess you put into the job going? Is there anything I can do for you, just to, just like for free, like, chit chat, like anything I know that you don't know that you just want to know. So I think it's highly transactional. I think a lot of our industry puts them before their client, and I think the reputation is broadly deserved. But then, having done the job for 20 years, I know all the chaos and the pain and the frustration and the inefficiency and that goes into our side of the equation. But I totally get it from the clients. Totally get it. And they're the ones who pay the bills, and it's their opinion that matters, not ours.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the USPs that set you apart. Then, going back to the question earlier, is the fact that you're maybe trying to build the relationship with the client as opposed to just treat it as a transaction.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie. In the first couple of years, I was me.
Yeah, okay.
100%.
Yeah.
No, I tried to make it enjoyable. You're a comedian. You want your audience to laugh, right? I mean, if they don't, you're not going to go very far.
Yeah. Basically.
I'm glad we can swear on this.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube recently updated their profanity ruling.
Did they?
Yeah. So now
we can just swear.
You can just swear.
Now you're challenging me to come up with something really pokey.
We'll just do one long beep, basically, throughout the episode.
The more creative, the better.
Yeah.
So, we're in the service industry, just as you are, fine. You can knock out dodgy food outside of some sports venue, but no one's ever going back. And same in our industry. I think it's not hard to build a good reputation for yourself as an individual consultant. I actually think it's harder for an organization to continually build a reputation for itself, because what is difficult is to get just a continuity of standard of service, the bigger you get.
Yeah.
But we try.
Hey guys, I just wanted to take a second to talk about our sponsor for this episode, Furniture Box. Furniture Box is an online furniture retailer that makes awesome products for everywhere from your bedroom to your office. Now, we actually had Monty and Dan, the co-founders, on our show. That's how we met. We loved their story and we hung out with them afterwards, and we knew that we wanted to work with them. And here's the thing. One of the biggest issues I have whenever I've ordered furniture in the past is that certain big name furniture companies, not naming any names, will charge you a fairly large fee for delivery. And even then, that delivery usually takes a few days, if not longer. With Furniture Box, not only do they offer free next day delivery, but they're now planning on extending their delivery cutoff even more so that you can literally order a dining set as late as 8 p.m. and be eating dinner on it the next day. So to put it simply, there's no one in the UK furniture scene that's doing anything like what they're doing, and we're thrilled to have them as our sponsor. So click the link in the description and check them out. Now back to the episode.
So talk me through then some of the hardest moments of the business.
Oh man, I could go deep here, but I don't think.
Let's go deep.
No. I won't get that deep. I'm thinking really deep.
Yeah.
Why would you not go deep?
Yeah. There's obviously one moment.
My
that springs
mum's
to mind.
watching.
Okay.
Well, I hope she might do one day. Look,
Please subscribe,
I had
by the way,
a
if you want.
I'll tell you really the highlights of a dark story, but I'm only sharing this because if anybody watches this that is doing their own thing and thinks, oh, it's crap, I hear you. I had a very important family member work for me for a long time. Work for me is totally the wrong phrase, but I gave a very important member of my family a job, and that person stole for years, unbeknown to me, years and years and hundreds of thousands of pounds. And when I found out, that was very, very painful, very difficult. I don't think I'm over it yet, if I'm completely honest with you. So it was that, and then you got things like the GFC, and you've got things like, I thought Brexit was miserable because you just knew it was not going to be a little dip of a recession. I've had employees steal, which is kind of like less painful but not nice.
It's not easy. Of course.
And some of the stuff that's really hurt the most, if I'm honest with you, is when a client has said to me, "That was shit. You did a shit."
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, really, it hurts. It's like physical pain. I don't like to hear it.
Yeah, when you're in a service industry, to receive that, it's never going to be easy, right?
Yeah, I think look, there's one thing. No disrespect. If you guys work in our business and then, James could have done better, I'm like, yeah. Tell me why. Okay, great. Thanks for the feedback, James. You could have done better. But when they're like, you were great. Yeah.
That's hard. That's harder to swallow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
It's more personal.
It's but you know what?
It's the same thing.
You need to hear it.
It's just the same thing as when like you have a night where like the comic before you's had like a great set, and then you go up and you just bomb on your ass, and you're just like, I can't blame the crowd.
Yeah, no, you can't.
The guy after me then crushed as well.
Yeah.
That's
like, literally all on
that's
you.
Just me.
Yeah, that is.
And it's like they just don't like me, basically.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Yeah,
I get that for real. What do you think? This is a bit random, but I'm just curious to know your opinion. What do you think about the whole talk of a 4-day work week? Because that's been in the news recently. They did a trial that just came out, and apparently the results were like pretty astounding. And he and I have been back and forth on this quite intensely. We have completely polar opposite opinions.
Yeah, I'm a flip-flopper. I think, look, if you could give me a cast iron guarantee, forget about Deverell-Smith, this company, my company. If I owned any company, and if you said, I can guarantee you'll get the same amount of effort, same amount of commitment, same amount of output in 4 days, not 5, I'd rip your arm off. 100% I'd rip your arm off, because I'd like a 3-day weekend, and I'm certain everybody else would. Where I think it leads, though, is if you switch 5 to 4, I think 4 becomes 3.5 in the future. And not in terms of your contracted hours, in terms of mindset and productivity and output. I can't see that it goes the other way. I just cannot see it. I can't see it. I maybe I'm wrong.
Well, what do you think? I mean, the idea of I think the overall thought process of it is that, mindfulness and well-being is becoming more important. And I think more and more people are realizing that they don't actually want to sell most of their life it's not just year wise, but time wise, to a company that they're not necessarily passionate about. You know,
that's a really interesting choice of language that you've used. Now, I might be different because my name's above the door of my own shop, but you know, I look at peace of mind and mindfulness and mental well-being around being secure, you know, reasonably affluent, you know, and for sure in my time, I've had periods of being skinter than skinned. You know, well-being and mindfulness is an interesting. I just don't buy that it's a direct line to time invested in work. You know, I think that's quite a, not to dig you out, I just think it's quite a sort of negative way of looking at work. You know, I think work can be deeply healthy. I
completely agree with that. And as someone who loves working, as does he, you know, we're building our own thing. We've got a lot of irons in the fire, and we're working, you know, 7 days a week, constantly on FaceTime to each other when we're not together. You know, it's constant. Yeah. But I then have to sometimes step back and say, well, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm someone who wants to run his own business, and I always have been that person, as has he, and as are you. And so do you think it's different when, as you said, your name is on the door, you're passionate about what you do, but there are some people where, you know, they don't love, if it is recruitment, they don't love recruitment, but it's a paycheck and they're good at it and they need to feed their family. But if they can be as productive and get a bit more time on things that they enjoy doing, or, you know, spend more time with their children or whatever it might be, do you think that's the worst thing?
I don't think so. Of course I don't think it's the worst thing. I just think it's like, I think everyone should do themselves in life, you know, and if it doesn't conform to who we are, doesn't make us bad people or them bad people, like, you know, go another path. I just don't really buy into clock in, clock out mentality. Like fundamentally, I just don't see it being as simple as that. I think happy people and successful people to a degree are able to just kind of interweave these different parts of their lives together. You know, I'm a dad of 3. You know, my wife has it harder than me. You know, I kind of do get the challenges of time balance, certainly once kids arrive on the scene. But I just don't think it. I just
it's
don't
not as
think
binary as that.
Sort of, yeah. I don't think you can clock in, clock off, unless like you really say, right, you know, time out for a period of time. Yeah. And then that is absolutely right thing.
I think it's almost maybe even in some ways, because I think that's a great point.
Because, sorry, just on this point. Yeah. It's like flexible working. I'm 1,000,000% behind. We're just about to acquire a business in that space. I truly, truly believe in that. So here I am, you know, working flexibly and texting you guys, my colleagues, on a Sunday going, bish, bash, 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 there's all of my ideas. You know, so I'm working and you're not. So what do you do? Are you looking at emails? Are you not looking at emails? Are you replying to emails? Are you not? So I just don't, that's why I don't believe in this sort of just regimented Monday to Thursday stop. You know, we've got clients overseas that work different days and all the rest of it. Like, it's not, I just can't see that it's that simple.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but I do think that there is a cutoff when you're not the person with the risk of the business, if that makes sense. Because then you are coming in as an employee, you're just not, naturally, you're not as invested as the owner of that particular business. Yeah. And the expectation is not the same.
I get that, but having been in only one industry, but I've studied what success in real estate looks like for 20 years. And I guarantee you what it looks like in real estate, it looks the same as in technology or, you know, insurance, pick any industry, right? Not for me to tell somebody, you know, to work harder consistently or longer hours or, you know, all of those things. But what I will tell you till I go to my grave is like, there was a recipe to higher production, higher earnings, higher, you know, faster career, you know, success. It's absolutely anyone's choice as to what they want to do with their life. I couldn't care less other than, like, you know, love one another and don't start wars. But, you know, sometimes the route out of the place you're in is to work your way out of it. Is that like...
I agree.
Is
I agree.
That is true. I do agree
I
with
think
that.
maybe also a lot of people, because I think I'm probably more vitriolic around this subject than maybe the average person. Because I remember when I was in that world, there was a lot of clock in, clock out, and a lot of time.
World?
The corporate world in various regards, the kind of office 9 to 5, get on the central line, 9 to 5, go home.
But if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Like,
No, I agree. No, I agree. But I'm saying for people who might be, that's their life. They can't necessarily leave. Maybe they're too deep into it, or that's their skill set, or they've suddenly got family they need to pay for. Whatever it might be, that's their life, right? And I think I remember being in that world, and there was a lot of timekeeping, and there was a lot of there would be days where I'd stay late and I'd work late. There'd be days where I might have to cover something on a weekend, and I would, and that would be just, oh yeah, cheers. But then on the flip side of it, if it's, you get people going, it's 10:02. It's 10:02,
that's
and I'm like,
bullshit though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
But I think that's the problem, because that's how it's the same people that rise up against flexible working now. It's like, well, I don't think you should work from home. Why do I have to sweat my nuts off on the Bakerloo line because you want to go into an office? Like, I get to each their own. If you want to go in, you go in.
Yeah.
But I think it's the same thing. Like, if you've got someone breathing down your neck, being like, it's 10:03, you're meant to be in at 10. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think it's more around like, look, if you were consistently late, that would just piss me off, right?
Yeah, there's a balance, of course. If someone's taking the
But,
then
like, it's back to my statement around holiday. If I'm noticing you're 3 minutes late, there's a bigger problem. Like, you're probably just doing a shit job.
Agreed.
And also late. And it's symptomatic. This whole. It is not complicated in most careers to be better than your peers. You just have to do it. And I think that goes for any walk of life. It's like, you want, just certain things like sports and what have you, genetics really kick in, but not my industry. It's just like turn up, do the work, do it consistently. Do 10% more than the guy sitting next to you, and you'll get 25% luckier. It's inversely, it's not the right word, but
Kind of linear, yeah.
More so, yeah.
There is something really nice about the fact that, as you said, unlike certain instances where family money or connections or genetics might play a part, in a lot of walks of life, it is just, if you graft harder, you will get further, which is quite a nice way to look at it.
Definitely. Yeah. Although I suppose one question I'm curious to know is, how different do you think Deverell-Smith would be if you didn't do commission? So if you just had higher base salaries?
Can you do that in recruitment?
Yeah.
No, I don't think. Well, some places do, but it's quite few and far between.
Recruitment places do that. They just pay you, but then
you get a higher basic salary, but you don't get a commission or bonus.
But then you're not incentivized to create deals.
Well, that's my.
Aren't you though?
That's my question. It's like, well, if you're getting paid more, you might be incentivized more to actually do more.
Oh, I don't know, man. Sales is eat what you kill.
Well, no, it is, but I'm just curious to hear your perspective.
That's good question.
I think I'm leaning more in your direction. Like, I serve a lot of sales cultures. It's a great question. Like if I could afford to, really go all in on the experiment, I'd do it. I think high performing, that 1% that everybody wants, like their motivation is not intrinsically linked to the, because I get that. Like, they want to be brilliant first, and they know the money comes second.
Yeah.
I think the danger of that is you create a very flabby environment where lots of people are bluntly, comfortable enough to not do the necessary steps that not just the company needs, but the customers need. Please make a load of phone calls on my behalf and help me out. Yeah. So I generally, like, this isn't my business thing, but when I'm advising clients, I think sales jobs generally should probably carry a minimum bonus commission quantum of 100% of salary. When I see sales jobs carrying like 25, 30%, here's your 40 base, you can make 50. I don't think that turns on high performers.
I agree.
Now, whether the salary is 100 for the year, get to the full year, and we might pay you another 100. That's quite interesting. But I think it has, I think it should be balanced, not just in I don't like the word commission, but in results. Yeah. And results can be customer should be customer feedback. Longevity of what you do. It's one thing to put somebody into a job. It's another thing to, stay there and be impactful, which is what I find really fulfilling. So there's loads of ways you can cut it, but we're yet to get there.
Yeah. No, I'm inclined to agree. I think you end up dragging up the bottom 10% and almost dragging down the top 1 to 10%, if you like. So you get that sort of bit in the middle.
What we do though is have something which is you only access your bonus or commission structure once you trigger. So if you've been in our business 2 years, and let's just say your basic salary is £30,000, and you've been in our business 4 years, and let's just say your basic salary is £45,000, because that's what happens in sales jobs. You get, you have a good course of promotion. You get. I would argue what everybody in their mind has a happy place, whether they articulate it or not. They've got a number in their head which is like, oh, I can relax. Nothing wrong with relaxing. That's my happy place. In recruitment, generally, these people get these bumps, but their production doesn't go on. Their billings or production, as I call it, doesn't go in line with the salary increases. And so, if you build £250,000 and you build £250,000, I would argue your performance is so much better because you've got less experience and you've obviously worked harder to get to the same number. Mm-hmm. And so we try and over reward this person over that person because it's about return on salary. I mean, I think it's fair that any company in the world, the more they pay somebody, the more they should expect in return.
Naturally, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree with that. What do you think about the impact of AI on your space? What kind of thing, how do you think that's going to go?
Well, it's coming.
It certainly
is. I, as a father of 3, my eldest is 13, my middle one's 10, 11. They're so much more technologically advanced than I am. And I can't imagine where they'll be in, come school leaving age. Mm. I think it's a very bold or foolish leader who says, not going to impact my business. Can I see clearly how to leverage it to the standard that I would like our customers to experience right now? Not quite. Am I looking at it hard? Yes. Do I think it presents huge opportunities for our business? Yes. For the people working within it. I think there's a hell of an opportunity. Does it keep me up at night that recruitment consultants are going to be out of jobs because of the robots? Not yet.
I think
there are other jobs at risk.
I think it's a long way off until you get the sort of the relationship based roles that then go.
The thing about it is,
I don't know.
I think recruitment is one of the, like nursing, right? And nurses have it 20,000 times harder than recruitment consultants have it. But I think when there's a human at every point in the equation, touch point, then I think it's going to have to be a really, really, really capable robot. Not to say, and recruiters get a terrible reputation because it's hard, because you screw it up, and because you get it wrong. I just don't see a robot being able to do that. But I think AI around how we can make the job easier and more enjoyable for the humans in the mix of doing the job, I think that's mega exciting.
No, it'll be really exciting to see how it plays out. Very exciting.
We ask one question basically at the end of all of our interviews, which is obviously, as you know, the main premise of the show is to ask people about kind of the nitty gritty and the practical. So if there was one piece of practical advice that you could give to anyone listening who may already have a business or maybe looking to start one, one practical, actionable piece of advice, less believe in yourself and more to do with anything, budgeting, hiring, marketing, whatever you like, what would you say?
Well, the first one is not what you've asked for, but in my experience, 17 years in now, I would say trust yourself. Because as you grow, you get people, you're very lucky, you put people around yourself, and, that's a blessing. And I find that deeply mind-blowing in a way, that people would still see me as somebody that they want to pin their colours to. But when I've gone against my instincts, I've always regretted it, always. So I think that's the most important thing that I tell myself. It's like, when your gut's saying this is a decision, and you kick it around, you have board meeting, chat. That's the message to myself. Practically, I would say it's, oh God, there's so many, but I think you've got to keep control of your cost base. It's very, very easy for that to just creep up. And the problem with that is that, you close your eyes, you wake up, you're in a place you don't want to be, and you have to do things that are unpleasant. So I think, controlling your cash flow, critical, otherwise you will go out of business. And then I think it's probably about brand. For me, it's like, try and be visible, try and be authentic, try and be consistent with that. Because if you set out a customer promise to people, I think it's easier to then, get the business to, well, in some ways, I think it's easier to engage your people to really believe in that. I certainly don't think I'm brilliant at it, but when I that's one of the things when we score ourselves good, bad, indifferent. I think we've consistently been all right at that.
Amazing.
Interesting.
Thank you so much. It's been a very introspective conversation.
It has. It has.
Very pensive. Thank you so much for being here, Andrew. Let people know where can they find you, plug away.
Cannon Street, London, New York. DeverellSmith, you'll find it. It's one of those names that unfortunately I was stuck with, but you'll find us online. And if you're in real estate and you want to talk about talent, then it'd be really great to hear from anybody. So thank you.
Amazing.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
No, thank you for coming on.
No, really, such a pleasure.
Really good chat.
Pensive and introvert.
Yeah, it's been.
Does that mean boring?
No, it means
definitely not.
Not at all. No, it means
Definitely
thoughtful. Not. It means deep. Yeah, deep, but it means thoughtful. It means thoughtful.
Yeah, we've covered topics that we haven't covered with other people.
Yeah, I wanted to branch it out a little bit, and it's
Tell us a joke, then you're the comedian.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, here we cut off right here,
guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, check us out on all the different platforms. Wherever you're listening, if you're on audio, make sure to rate us 5 stars and leave us a review. And obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, then subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you never miss another video. We've got an amazing set of guests coming up, but right now, thank you so much to Andrew for coming on, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Cheers, guys.